Great, thank you so much. I think we'll go ahead and get started. Hello and welcome, and thank you for joining us today for the Arizona chapter of Elders Climate Action's press conference, Save Clean Energy, Jobs, and Our Health. I'm Jen Chandler. I'm the director of Elders Climate Action, and I'm a proud resident of Arizona, and I am grateful to be with all of you today for today's event. I'd like to welcome and thank Arizona Senator Lauren Kuby and Senator Theresa Hatathlie, community member Char Hoffman from Prescott, and Melanie Beikman from Arizona Interfaith Power and Light. And thank you to Representative Yassamin Ansari for her message that I will share in just a moment. As we know, the clean energy tax credits and other climate and clean energy investments have been under attack, including the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund. The Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund is a $27 billion investment that's mobilizing financing and private capital to address the climate crisis. These investments ensure our country's economic competitiveness and promote energy independence while delivering our lower energy costs and revitalizing the economy and communities that have historically been left behind. Critical funding allocated by Congress has been frozen by the Trump administration. As of March 20th, 2025, a federal judge issued an order blocking the EPA's freeze order, finding that the EPA had not provided sufficient evidence to justify the freeze. This court's decision means that the $27 billion in greenhouse gas reduction funds is no longer frozen, and that the EPA is now required to re-obligate the funds. We hope that we will see these funds back in our community soon. The impacts are being felt here in Arizona. Last month, the Arizona Governor's Office of Resiliency was forced to pause its efficiency program, its Efficiency Arizona program. Federal grant funding for the program has been withheld and not consistently available due to the federal executive orders, the memorandums from the White House Office of Management and Budget, and the communications from the U.S. Department of Energy. Efficiency Arizona is a statewide program funded by the U.S. Department of Energy, the DOE, Home Energy Rebates Program, and initiated by the Inflation Reduction Act. The DOE awarded the Governor's Office of Resiliency $153 million to help Arizonans save money on their utility bills, upgrade to more efficient electric equipment and appliances, and improve air quality. As of today, the website is back up and there's some movement on existing applicants. Instead of bringing costs down for families, President Trump, Elon Musk, and their allies in Congress are freezing or interrupting funds already allocated by Congress and cutting essential services to pay for tax breaks for billionaires and corporations. The administration is attempting to ban clean energy like wind and solar and are making zero-emission vehicles more expensive, reducing options for consumers, killing jobs, and increasing prices for families. We literally can't afford to let the administration take us backwards on energy and put Arizona's economy and our future at risk. Our families deserve clean air and clean water and properly regulated by a strong environmental protection agency. Corporate profits shouldn't be prioritized over our health and the health of our children and grandchildren. While oil company executives increase their profits, our families will have fewer choices and more toxic chemicals in their air and water. It's more critical than ever that we work together to protect clean air, clean energy, and our economic future here in Arizona, and that's why we've brought our voices together today. Representative Yassamin Ansari was unable to join us in person today due to her travel schedule, but she has shared some remarks that I would like to read. Hi, everybody. This is Congresswoman Yassamin Ansari, representing Phoenix, Glendale, and Guadalupe in Congress. I want to thank you for being here today and for the work that you do every day to help end the climate crisis and build a just and sustainable future. The climate crisis is the defining issue of our time. Arizona has been on the front lines of climate change for quite some time. Every year we see its effects firsthand, and extreme heat is literally kills people in places like our district. The impacts we are seeing in our community are a symptom of what is happening at the national and global scale. Without decisive action, the effects of climate change will only become more devastating for our communities. I came to Congress from climate advocacy. As a senior climate advisor to the United Nations, I pushed for international solutions to climate change and worked on the team that helped deliver the historic Paris Climate Agreement. As a Phoenix City Councilwoman, I led bold efforts to clean up our air and water in Phoenix, created the first Office of Heat Response and Mitigation in the nation, and passed the city's landmark Climate Action Plan and Transportation Electrification Action Plan, ushering in a clean energy future for Phoenix. Now, as a Congresswoman, I'm continuing to fight for climate action at the federal level. As a member of the House Natural Resources Committee and as ranking member of the Energy and Mineral Resources Subcommittee, I look forward to working with my colleagues to pass meaningful legislation that advances our fight against climate change at the federal level. I was sworn in just a few months ago, and in that time, we've already seen how Elon Musk and Donald Trump's actions on federal funding, which have been approved by Congress, threatens the checks and balance relationship between the executive and legislative branch. They are using their unchecked power to illegally cut funding for essential climate mitigation programs like the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, which gives grants to nonprofits working to reduce pollution. The Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund is the first of its kind with a $27 billion investment to mobilizing financing and private capital to address the climate crisis. This program promotes energy independence while delivering lower energy costs and economic revitalization to communities who have historically been left behind, including communities here in Arizona, and it must be protected. We already know that the communities most impacted by the harmful effects of climate change, pollution, and high energy costs are low-income communities, older communities, and people of color. Our solutions to this issue have to center and uplift those most harmed. Allowing climate change to destroy our communities like this is a policy choice and a preventable one. Now more than ever, we must stand with our most vulnerable communities impacted by this administration by taking bold and transformative action to reverse the effects of climate change and build a more sustainable future for generations to come. That's why I'm so appreciative of your work as Elders Climate Action. I will continue to fight relentlessly for issues impacting all of us. Thank you, Representative Ansari, for your remarks and your work in the House of Representatives and all of your work on climate. We really appreciate everything that you're doing. I'd like to now invite Senator Kuby to share some thoughts on the value of clean investment here in Arizona and the impacts in our state. So, Senator Kuby.
Thank you so much, Jen. And I'm so proud that we have such a climate champion in Congress, and not only with Yassamin Ansari, but with Greg Stanton. They're really fighting the fight and leading the pushback and the resistance. So thank you so much. I wish he could be here in person. I wish we could all be in person, but this is a beautiful sunny day in Arizona, yet we are not taking advantage of our sunny state in order to be able to really craft effective public policy to lead towards a clean energy transition. And we know that our country is moving backwards, our federal government's moving backwards. And as a result, Arizona and other states, our leadership in clean energy is under attack. Let's make no mistake about it. This is an emergency. The Arizona Governor's Office of Resiliency is the cornerstone of our state's energy transition. And a lot of the funds have been paused. There's some limited funding now, but it's really, truly under danger due to federal funding freezes. And Efficiency Arizona, which is the cornerstone of their Office of Resiliency, was designed to help lower utility bills. What is so controversial and radical about that? But it was designed to lower utility bills, upgrade to more energy efficient electrical appliances, and improve air quality. And air quality is not a Democratic or idea. It is a Democratic and Republican and nonpartisan idea. And we know that this program is funded by the Inflation Reduction Act, the IRA, which Joe Biden got passed in a bipartisan way. A U.S. Department of Energy is committed, as you mentioned, $153 million to Arizona. That's not too shabby. That's for energy efficiency programming and money that's now being blocked. And I'm glad to say that our Attorney General, who is a fierce warrior for the climate, Chris Mays, she joined with other attorneys general to be part of the New York versus Trump lawsuit, which is fighting back against this funding freeze, because we realize this isn't just about policy, this is about jobs, it's about economic growth, it is about public health. Fundamentally, it's about the health of our kids and our most vulnerable people. And I want to say today that, cutting clean energy funding has real consequences for Arizona. Let's talk about our economy. When we cut funding through the IRA, this really wonderful program that was jump-starting the clean energy economy, we have modeling that shows that repealing these investments would shrink Arizona's GDP by $2.89 billion. That's $1 billion, almost $3 billion by 2030, and $1.8 billion by 2035. And talking about the public health aspect, to cut these programs increases air pollution by 7 million metric tons of CO2 by 2030. That's the equivalent of running 2 coal-fired plants. And the numbers are staggering in terms of the benefits that investment bring, 7,000 clean energy jobs in Arizona, but they're being lost, delayed, put at risk because of this reckless rollback in federal investment. So efficiency in Arizona, though, wasn't just about savings. It was really about energy security, climate resiliency in one of the hottest states in the country, where, as the congressman said, we face really dangerous impacts from our rising heat. So without this funding, 20,000 qualified low-income families are going to miss out on the 20% energy bill savings that these investments would bring, that energy efficiency promises. So we're going to leave them stuck with outdated, inefficient appliances, and without the wherewithal to really upgrade their appliances to what they need to save money and create a healthier environment for their kids. So today is a call for action. We have to continue pushing for full reinstatement of this funding. We want the Efficiency Arizona and similar programs to be funded as Congress intended, as residents intended them to be when we voted those programs, those congressmen, congresspeople in, and as they voted these programs in. And again, I can't repeat enough, this isn't just an environmental issue. This is an economic issue. It's a health issue. And we know that clean energy investments, that they reduce energy costs for our families. We know they create local jobs, good union jobs as well. And they improve air quality, and air quality impacts, more vulnerable communities more than any other. So it's so important when we improve our air quality that we be aware that how much resounding impact that can have in our frontline communities. And we know that our state, our beautiful state, our sunny state, the sunniest state in the nation, and we know we thrive when we invest in energy efficiency. So we have to fight back against these funding cuts. This is not normal. This is an emergency. We need to speak with a clarion call and tell our legislators, tell our congresspeople, do not cut the IRA. If we don't, we're going to lose jobs. We're going to have higher energy bills as a result, and we're going to have worse air quality. That's not a future that Arizona can afford. That's not a future that our future generations can afford. And thank you so much for listening to me today. And I would like to introduce my colleague, Senator Theresa Hatathlie. She is a warrior also for the climate. She serves on the NRU, the Natural Resources Committee for the Senate. She's one of the leading climate voices in our legislature. And with that, Senator Hatathlie.
Thank you, Senator Kuby. Yat is our greeting in Navajo, so I extend greetings to everyone here. And I do agree, Senator Kuby brought many great points to the table and how Arizona is fighting back, and then even for all constituents to come, because everybody's voice is important. So some of the areas that I wanted to bring attention to, especially today, what's going on in Washington, D.C., the chaos that continues to boil and trickle down from Washington, D.C. is something that we have to deal with on a daily basis. The EPA Administrator, Lee Zeldin, Elon Musk and Donald Trump are obsessively and illegally working to claw back more than $20 billion, helping local communities to save money on energy costs, all appropriated by Congress and granted to coalitions of nonprofits via the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund. This spending has been appropriated by the U.S. government. The U.S. government has also signed contracts with the grantees and granted to coalitions of nonprofits, and making sure that these investments are already flowing to local businesses, community organizations, and working families around the country. The Greenhouse Reduction Fund will leverage $7 in public and private sector investments for every $1 of public funding, efficiently expanding economic opportunity and access to capital in small towns and big cities. That funding prioritizes communities that have too often been overlooked and underserved, including rural communities, which are set to receive more than $4 billion. Many times when we have these conversations about investments and then economic development, rural communities are always left out. And so here in the state of Arizona, it's always regarding how these opportunities will benefit the great state of Maricopa County, as I always say. But definitely we need to have opportunities out in the rural areas. And with that, I can say that the balance in that also is that the rest of Arizona has such a huge tourism industry that we do need these green initiatives out there. That funding prioritizes communities, and the program also makes our water safer to drink and our air safer to breathe. Gutting the funding will mean more harmful chemicals in our air and water, which has a real impact on our children's health, from asthma rates to other chronic illnesses. And I must state that we can't leave anything to the free market. In fact, climate change is the greatest single free market failure. This is what happens when you don't regulate corporations and allow them to treat the atmosphere as an open sewer. I think that's very important to note. I think there's responsibility and accountability to make sure that all Arizonans, all constituents across the United States are at least given some measure of prosperity to live out the American dream, as has been the communication for a number of years now. And so whenever we advocate for the environment, for clean air, or even clean water, we advocate, but then all of a sudden, the word out there becomes that we are activists. And so we're advocates. And I think that going forward, when we talk about our population and 50, even 100 years down the road, people are still going to be here. Our grandkids, our great grandkids, we have to plan so that they have clean water, that they even have drinking water. And so I wanted to state that, and thank you very much for the invitation. And certainly we are constantly voicing these sentiments here on the floor and in our committees. And so I would like to introduce Ms. Char Hoffman, a community member, valuable constituent from Prescott, Arizona. Thank you. You're on mute.
I am. Thank you, Senator Hatathlie. So my husband and I live in Prescott, as she said. We moved from Apache Junction 6 years ago to get away from the ever-increasing heat that Senator Kuby referenced. We have a very noisy gas furnace and we have no air conditioning. Unfortunately, it's also getting hotter here in northern Arizona. So the plan was to eventually switch out the gas furnace for a heat pump with air conditioning. Then I heard about the rollout of the Inflation Reduction Act, and specifically the Home Electrification and Appliances Program. It's the HERE program that would make it possible for low and middle income residents to electrify their homes. So I began to look for information about how it could help us to not only get that heat pump, but also to replace our gas stove and our gas water heater when the time came to do that. Since the program would be available for 10 years, we could make the changes to more efficient and healthy and clean energy appliances over time. I found a lot of help from Rewiring America, which is an electrification nonprofit focused on explaining the new law and producing tools to make it easier for residents, businesses, and communities to go electric. I attended many of their workshops, and Melanie Beikman's organization, Arizona Interfaith Power and Light, also sponsored several information Zooms that I attended. Here in Prescott, I belong to the Interfaith Climate Action Team. It covers Prescott and the Quad Cities. And last year at our Prescott Earth Day celebration at the courthouse downtown, one of the topics we highlighted at our booth was the IRA and how it could help people and organizations benefit from the tax credits and rebates. Most people had no idea of the IRA, let alone the benefits. So we had lots of lively discussions all day with people that were interested in taking part. Unfortunately, my own experience is another story. For a couple of years, I was waiting for Arizona to get a program in place to offer the benefits to us. And I was very happy to see that they were actually one of the first states to enroll to do that. I started checking their Efficiency Arizona website weekly to see when they would roll out the HERE program. And finally, this year, it was up and running, and I filed our application within a week. I monitored the website often to see what heating contractors would be certified in the Prescott area as qualified contractors. In the meantime, we were approved by the state for benefits, but then our application was paused because there were no contractors yet in Prescott. We had several companies come to give us bids, and I always asked if they were participating in the program. All but one said no. So I provided them with the Efficiency Arizona website link so they could investigate it. Finally, one contractor said yes. I contacted the application folks, and they said they would confirm that and get the process rolling for us to have the necessary home audit before we could proceed. Unfortunately, within a week of that promise, the whole program was paused and the website went down. Just the other day, I talked with the contractor we were poised to use, and he told me that they got a recent update from the state saying they're slowly opening back up and working through their approved applicants. When I looked this morning, the website is back up and the program is open on a limited basis, and they do plan to take new applicants soon. The particular contractor I'm working with does intend to stay in the program, but the uncertainty means that others may drop out and many won't be inclined to join in, limiting our choices in the future. So I'm frankly disappointed that this opportunity for people like us to get help to convert to clean energy for our health and for the environment is now full of such uncertainty. And the fear that this won't be the only pause is frustrating, to say the least. But for my part, I intend to keep advocating for all of the IRA benefits to be reinstated. And now I'd like to introduce Melanie Beikman. She's the director of Arizona Interfaith Power and Light. Melanie.
Thank you, Char. And good to see you, Char. So yes, I'm Melanie Beikman. I'm with Arizona Interfaith Power and Light. AZIPL is a spiritual response to the climate crisis, working with congregations and other people of faith across Arizona. In our work with congregations, we're seeing that people want to protect Arizona from the worst effects of the climate crisis, which we're already seeing in the longer summers and the extreme heat, as well as in year-round fire seasons. People of faith in Arizona also care about ensuring that people of all socioeconomic levels can access affordable energy, including life-saving air conditioning in the summer. So we've been working with our SAGE teams and congregations to educate their members about the IRA programs for solar and energy efficiency. And as you heard from Char, people are out there educating each other about these programs. So you heard from Char about Efficiency Arizona, the Arizona version of the Home Electrification and Appliance Rebates Program. The state manages the funds that provide rebates to lower and middle income Arizonans, up to $840 on efficient appliances, up to $8,000 on air conditioning units. And for critical energy saving measures like windows and insulation, there's a rebate of up to $1,600. So as you heard, the uncertainty introduced by federal freezes is slowing down the program, and it leaves out Arizona consumers who can't wait any longer to replace an old water heater or, critically, an air conditioning system, because summer is fast approaching and they need to make decisions about their health, about their home. Efficiency Arizona and Solar for All, they fill a unique need. So the IRA tax credits, on the other hand, they are certainly welcome, and solar and energy efficiency tax credits have been very successful. A lot of people that we work with are using them to save energy and lower their bills. But tax credits are not available to low-income people who don't have a high tax liability, and that often includes seniors on fixed income. So people who don't own their homes, renters, can't access those tax credits for efficient appliances and for solar. So programs like Efficiency Arizona and Solar for All give low-income Arizonans, people living in apartments, and also rural Arizonans and tribal communities access to clean, affordable energy. Thousands of Arizonans will enjoy the benefit of reducing their energy bills. And for Solar for All, that's estimated to be $164 million in savings on utility bills. The programs are not just a tool for consumers to save money and energy, but they're also an investment in Arizona. Arizona is set to receive $156 million from the EPA's Solar for All grant program, part of the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund. That money goes to Arizona clean energy businesses and to good paying jobs. And that's a welcome infusion into Arizona's economy. Efficiency Arizona and Solar for All will make our grid more resilient and help combat the climate crisis, which is causing dangerous heat and increased wildfires in Arizona. Arizonans, and I can tell you people of faith that we work with, they want to do their part, and they're looking for how they can participate. The federal government has signed the contracts. Efficiency Arizona and Solar for All need to have certainty, and they need to have the funds. The funds need to be paid to make these programs reliable and successful.
Thanks again to all of our speakers for joining us today and for being such strong voices, strong and outspoken voices for clean energy and for the health of our communities here in Arizona. And thank you to the members of the press for joining us. We will be sending out a follow-up press release with quotes from our speaker and a recording of the call shortly. You can also feel free to reach out to me with any questions, any follow-up questions, and I'm dropping my email in the chat box for anybody who wants to follow up with me. And I hope everybody has a wonderful day. And I hope that we start seeing this funding coming back into our communities and that we are all able to utilize and access these incredible funds to help support clean energy here in Arizona, and that we all continue to be strong voices to promote clean energy and protect our climate and our environment across our beautiful, amazing state that we all love so much. So have a really wonderful rest of your day, and thanks so much for joining us.